Hi, I'm Lois Beres at KZGN-TV, and this is Ridgecrest Talk, where we talk about the exciting things that happen in our town and the great people that are here. And today I have with me James Travis, who is, okay, you're going to have to help me with your rate. You're
EM1, SS, so qualified in submarines.
Submarines. That's very interesting for the desert. But he is a Navy recruiter, and he has an office over on China Lake Boulevard, right?
Yes.
Right. And where are you from? How'd you get here?
Well, I'm originally from the East Coast. I was born in Georgia, raised in Virginia. I was an Army brat, actually.
Oh, yeah?
I was a West Pointer. I joined the Navy right out of high school. I've been in for just over 9 years now. Basically, I took the ASVAB, kind of not sure what I wanted to do after high school, and, you know, the recruiter sold me a good story, so I decided to join.
Have you been happy with it?
Absolutely. The
All
Navy's
right.
done fantastic things for me.
And you went submarine?
Yes, I chose to volunteer for that. I like the small community, kind of like a small town, basically.
It kind of is, isn't it?
Everybody
Yeah.
knows everybody. You know, if you meet your commanding officer somewhere in town, you know who he is. You can see him. You say, "Hey, sir, how's it going?" And he'll know who you are.
And what you do and everything. Not like on the big bases where you might meet the CO and he wouldn't know who you were or anything.
Exactly.
So,
I love that community.
great. I think I'd get claustrophobic, though, inside the thing.
Some folks do,
Do you
actually.
really? Yeah.
It never bothered me at all.
The sailors actually do?
Well, usually that you find that out shortly after you
I
get there.
imagine.
And
Yeah.
if that becomes a problem, then they medically remove you and they send you to a surface ship somewhere.
Okay. So you got to the desert. How long have you been here?
I've been here for, it'll be 3 years in July.
Oh, wow. Okay. Were you surprised when you got out here with nothing after coming from the East Coast?
Well, I actually came here from Hawaii.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that
so
was
it's
culture shock.
Just a little bit of a change. Actually, when I found out I was coming out here, I asked some of my buddies from California. None of them had ever heard of this place.
What's China Lake?
Exactly. That was exactly what they said. So,
And then you probably expected to have a lake. A lot of people do. Oh, good, I can take my boat. Not right.
No, lake went away a while ago. A little disappointed.
Several
we found that
thousand
out.
years ago, I think, but it's kind of interesting. So have you had fun while you're here? Has it been a good duty?
It's been a really good time. I've really enjoyed the time to kind of get away from the hustle and bustle of the big city. You know, it was nice when rush hour traffic means it takes me 7 minutes to get home instead of 5.
That's the best part. I like that. So do you have a family?
I do. I have a wife and 2 dogs.
Oh, 2 dogs. Okay, I just got a new dog, but that's cool. You got to have the dogs. And how's she like it? Does she like Ridgecrest?
Well,
Lots of times wives don't like
no,
that.
she's not a big fan, but it's definitely not a bad area. She was born and raised in Hawaii.
Oh, so this is real different for her then.
That's been a big transition for her, but she's come along.
She won't have any island fever here, though. She can get out and get where you need to go quickly. So then you went to your basic, and then you went submarine immediately?
Well, I had to go through schooling for my job first. I
Okay.
actually spent 1.5 years in Charleston, South Carolina, where the Navy spent 6 months teaching me how to be an electrician.
Okay.
And they spent another 6 months teaching me how to apply my electrician knowledge to working on a nuclear reactor. And then my last 6 months, they actually had a training on operating a nuclear reactor down in Charleston, where we actually got to operate for 6 months before going out to my submarine.
That sounded exciting. But that was kind of a thrill for you to actually touch it and do it instead of just reading about it in the book.
It was fantastic. I loved
so
the
cool.
opportunity, the training. I mean, here I was, fresh out of high school, 20 years old, and operating a nuclear reactor.
That's pretty neat. That is so cool when you talk about how young our armed forces are. You know, that really, and you've got, and your family's here now, and in the desert, and you'll be going away before long. You'll be going to a duty station.
Yes, I'm actually coming towards the end of my tour out here. I'll be out here until about July of this year, and then I'm actually transferring to Norfolk, Virginia, where I'll be going onto the USS Boise, another fast attack submarine.
So that's more home for you, and your wife is just going further east.
Mm-hmm.
The interesting thing about my marriage was my husband came from the east, and we just kept going further west. But I met him in New Mexico, and we just kept going, so it was kind of neat. And we stayed out here and retired out here. But that's another story for another time. So, and then after your first sea duty, I guess it was,
Yes.
then did you become a recruiter, or did you have
Yes.
something? Okay.
This was my first shore duty after my first sea tour.
Okay.
So I spent about 5 weeks in Pensacola where they taught me how to be a recruiter, kind of helped me come out of my shell, because you may not know, but I tend to be more introverted actually.
See, you can't tell that because they train them how to do this.
Exactly.
It's so cool. No, that's hard to do when you get there. And then they tell you you have to be talking to crowds of people and all that stuff. So that's really interesting. So you're in recruiting now, and this is your first duty station recruiting?
Yes, this is my first, and it'll be the only one. I may end up coming back to recruiting after my next sea tour. Just it depends on what the Navy has available.
I see. Okay. Well, you have. Actually, this is a good place. We have a lot of really good people.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a wonderful place for wives if they're not working, because there's not a lot of shopping and that sort of thing to do. But we really have a lot of neat people and a lot of things that we do a lot. Do you go on base a lot, or do you shoot?
I don't typically go on base a whole lot. You know, if I need something over there, you know, we have the Fleet and Family Support Center, which really helps out.
Oh, does it? I didn't know that. So,
so if you have, you know, like if you have problems, you need like some counseling or something, maybe job referrals, things like that for your spouses, you can use the Fleet and Family Support Center for that. Really good on base. They've got connections to a lot of places in town, so they can tell you, you know, hey, these folks are hiring, you know, they're looking for military spouses type things. Kind of help transfer stuff, you know, help transfer job experience, things like that when you leave.
Oh, that's neat. So does your wife work?
She doesn't.
Okay. Well, I was just curious since you mentioned that.
Yeah. We looked into it a little bit and then kind of just decided, well, we're not going to be here too much longer, so it's not worth trying to get into something right now.
Right, and get involved, and then you have to leave. So when we went to Bremerton, we were only going to be there for 6 months, and so I played tourist the whole time. We were there almost a year, but I had a ball. It was great. The first time I did not work, so it's very interesting where you get to where you are from joining the Navy back that many years ago. I'm sure you probably didn't think you'd be out in the middle of the Mojave Desert with the nav.
I had no idea. I had no idea that I would ever end up recruiting, that I would end up out in the middle of the Mojave Desert. And you know, it's kind of one of the reasons why I joined, to kind of get out, see new places, you know, new experiences, things like that. And I mean, hell, I've gone from, you know, Virginia to Great Lakes for boot camp, to Charleston, to Hawaii, and now out here.
And then you're going back that way again, so that's very interesting. Well, we're just about out of time for this first segment, so is there anything that you particularly like about Ridgecrest that you want to bring out?
Honestly, the best thing that I like about Ridgecrest is the people. It's a great town.
There really are a lot of really neat people here. So, okay, we're going to be back in about 2 minutes, and we're going to talk a little bit more about Navy recruiting.
Every time you take a sip.
Okay, we're back. This is Ridgecrest Talk with Lois and James Travis, who is the Navy recruiter here in Ridgecrest. And James is going to tell us a little bit about recruiting and what he's looking for and what you people out there might want to work on if you want to become a Navy person. So tell me a little bit about your job there.
Well, recruiting is certainly an interesting experience. It's something that, you know, I kind of had to get used to. A lot of what we're looking for today, you know, we're looking for folks going into like STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics. And we're looking for, you know, some smart folks. You know, the times have changed from, you know, back in the day when the military was a kind of a last resort. Everybody's coming in to be, you know, a grunt foot soldier.
Dumb as a rock, you might could get in the service, you know.
Nowadays, right now, if you don't have above a 50 on the ASVAB, your job opportunities are pretty few and far between in the military, unfortunately.
Tell me about that ASVAB. What is that?
It's called the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery. It's a test that we use to determine jobs and qualification for the military. It's also something that we give in schools to, you know, high school seniors, high school juniors, high school sophomores, freshmen, and we don't let them take it yet.
Okay.
But what you do on this test is after it's done, it's a vocation test. So it kind of, they can go through and say, all right, so based on how you scored on each of these separate sections, these are some of the job fields that you might be interested in.
These look like you might want to be electronics, you want to be something else, and that would show up on that test.
Exactly. It talks about whether
Okay.
you would be good for like technical jobs, whether you'd be good for more like artistic type jobs, things like that. So it's not just for military use. It's actually something that can help a student in and of itself. You can take the ASVAB test and actually not even have your scores released to the military.
And yet it would give you a hint of where you might fit. That's kind of neat. I didn't know
Absolutely.
that was available. That's great. Everybody that goes into the military, Army, Navy, all that, they have to take that test?
Yes, everybody who comes in on the enlisted side. Officers, they have a separate test that they take. It's called the ASTB, or the Armed Services Technical Battery.
Okay.
They take that down in Los Angeles. It's handled by our officer recruiters, but you have to be working on or close to a bachelor's degree before you can start looking into that program.
I get it. Okay. So you get this test back. It comes back to you.
It comes back to the school, it comes back to the student. It actually, the school and the student have to release it to the military for us to get it.
So if they're interested in a Navy career after they get that back, then they come to you.
Yep.
Okay.
They can come to us, we can take a look at the score, see what they would be qualified for, what type of jobs they could do in the Navy. After we get their scores, the next step in that process, they would actually go down to MEPS, which for us is in Los Angeles. You get to stay at a nice little hotel down there, paid for by the Navy.
Can't beat that with a stick.
Nope. Nope, it's actually a really nice hotel. It's the 4 Points.
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Then you go through, you have a full physical taken care of.
Is that what that is? It's a medical thing?
It's called the Military Entrance Processing Station, or MEPS.
Okay. I have all these acronyms I'm trying to
Mhm.
get back in my mind. Okay, and then they stay overnight and they do all this testing and...
As long as you pass your physical, then you get to sit down for the Navy. You sit down with our classifiers, and they help you select a job based on how you did on the ASVAB and what they have available. So, kind of what the Navy needs and what you want to do, it all gets put together, and you pick a job. You sign your contract, gets locked in. You do your first swear-in, where you swear into the reserves. Then you actually get to come back and you work with me or your other recruiter.
For timing and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. And there's generally about a 2 to a 5 month window between when you sign your contract and when you actually ship out to basic training. So it's not like, you go down, you sign everything, then you're on an airplane that night to Illinois.
That's where they go to basic?
Yes, Great Lakes, Illinois.
Okay.
It's kind of cold up there.
It can be. It can be. My husband went up there, I think, Great Lakes. But I thought they did some in San Diego, but no.
Not anymore. They shut that place down back in the 90s.
See, I'm just way away from this stuff now. I used to be able to be up on it a little bit, but I don't know. So you get this young person, male or female,
Mm-hmm.
and then you help them get the job that they want. You've heard horror stories about, I signed up for this job and they gave me this one. Is that real, or do they pretty much get what they asked for?
In the Navy, your job is locked in. So when you go to MEPS, you're going to have a contract that says, my job is X, Y, or Z. Whatever your contract states, and that's what it's going to be. If it comes down to a situation where you no longer qualify, let's say you get in trouble, something like that, or that position is no longer available. I've honestly never heard of that happening. They give you the opportunity to break your contract and leave without any negative repercussions.
Oh, well, now that's neat, because like I said, I've heard all these horror stories, and then I'm off here in the desert or somewhere I didn't want to be, and it was not good, but that's great. And the other services, you're not sure if they do that or not.
I can't speak for the other services.
We'll have to get one of those other guys over here to tell us about what they do. I know that you guys sort of share a building. When I was in there yesterday, there's like a wall between you and the Army. But then you have your own things, but you said you kind of work together if you need. If there's something that you can't place, they might be able to.
Absolutely. Sometimes there are folks who come in who don't qualify for any of the programs that we have available, and there's nothing that I'll be able to do for them. So I can refer those people over to the Army, and they can potentially work on them, see if they could join, to get them into the Army. Sometimes some of the folks who go to the Army don't qualify based on, certain policies that the Army's put into place. The Navy doesn't.
That you might be able to do.
So they send folks over to me,
Oh, that's
and we all work
neat.
together.
All right. Because I went, like I said, I went in yesterday and met both sides of it. It's kind of almost the same building, but not quite. They have their own doors. So
right. We each have our own office.
yeah, it's kind of neat. So you've got your guys, and then do you get to go to the swearing in, or does that happen here, or do they go?
The swear-in ceremony, when they actually leave for basic training, does happen down in Los Angeles.
Oh, okay.
Parents are absolutely invited and are encouraged to attend. The officers who come down, who actually do the swear-in ceremony down there, will stick around so the parents can take pictures afterwards.
Okay.
So far, I think of the 24, 26 people that I put into the Navy, most of their parents have gone down and have really enjoyed the experience.
Well, it is. You're really proud of your kid, for doing that. There's a young man that I know that his parents are on base, and he was overweight, and he had worked really, really hard, but he just went through not long ago when got his swearing in. I think you probably did it. I don't know.
Was that Joe Brown?
I don't remember his last name. No,
Okay.
it was Filipino young man. But he was real excited about it when he finally got to that point that he could get in. So these guys helped them get to the point where they can to get in, because he was real happy with whatever you guys had done to help him get there. So we're just about at another break, and we're going to go into a little bit more about what they do when they sign up and that sort of thing when we get back. Is there anything real quick that you could? Well, let me just go to break right now. We're going to go to a break, and we'll be back in about 2 minutes. Okay? Okay, you're back with Lois and James, and we're talking about Navy recruiting. We've gotten these young people to sign their contracts and gotten them sworn in. I almost said sweared in. Sworn in, and then lots of different things happen in their life. Tell me what happens then to these young folks.
Well, from the first time when somebody swears in at MEPS, they come back to Ridgecrest here or to some of the other areas where we work, and they actually work in what's called the Delayed Entry Program, or the DEP. They work with your recruiter for a couple of months until it's time to leave from, like I said, the average wait is between about 2 and 5 months, though it can be up to a year from when they actually sign to when they ship out.
Why would that be, the length?
It depends on their job.
The job availability, or?
It's like some folks going into Special Forces, they need a little bit longer time to make sure they're physically prepared before they get to basic training. Some folks, if they're coming into a job that we really need, they could leave pretty quick. It just depends on what the Navy has spots for.
And what they've picked out to go. Okay, so now they've signed the contract, they've picked what they want to do, and now they've got basic training. What is involved in that?
Well, the biggest thing with basic training, it's designed to transition an individual from being an individual into a sailor, to transform a civilian into something more. It starts off, guys, you all get your hair shaved, every single one of you.
The girls too?
No, they don't get their head shaved.
Oh.
We're actually going through a program where they're testing out right now, where females don't actually have to get their hair cut at all, as long as they can keep it up within regulations. So they basically have to get it up to above the collar of their uniform. Otherwise, they do have to get their hair cut.
Cut, but not necessarily shaved. But the guys have to get shaved.
Yeah, everybody gets the...
Okay. High and tight are just off, right?
In basic, it's all the way gone.
It's all gone.
It's the first time in my life I've ever been bald.
For a young person, that's kind of an interesting experience. So then somehow you get a uniform that you don't know how to use. So
your RDCs, or your recruit division commanders, they train you all on that. All of your uniforms are actually individually tailored while you're there. So you go get measured, you get fitted to make sure that everything you have is going to fit you, and everything's going to fit you properly. You go through, your RDCs teach you how to fold them, how to wear them properly, how to properly iron them to make sure that you have the right creases so you look sharp. Boot camp for us is about 8 weeks long, but the time flies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can say, from my experience when I went through, when it was time to graduate, it was just like you blinked and then it was gone.
No kidding. You hear these things about how it feels like 40 years while you're there, but it doesn't. It just goes fast.
You hear a lot of horror stories about it, but you're actually guaranteed about 8 hours of sleep a night.
Okay.
Most of your time is actually spent in a classroom type environment, a lecture hall, where they're teaching you. You're covering information that you need, things like how to, moor a ship, different nautical terminology, things like that. It's all about transition, to get you used to thinking about the Navy's kind of ethos, the Navy's core values of honor, courage, and commitment. Placing shipmate self. You need to make sure that you're looking out for your shipmates. Once you get through all of that, you get your final exam in basic training. It's called battle stations.
This is a written?
No.
No.
It's a practical examination.
Okay.
You actually get to spend all night, you're up all night long. They've actually got a ship. It's a scale model of a destroyer that they've built. Universal Studios actually came into Great Lakes and built.
Gosh.
And
That is neat.
what you get to do is you actually get this ship, you take it underway, simulated underway. You load stores up onto it, you get to navigate a little bit. You have some sort of a simulated, like a mass casualty, like a fire or something on board, so you get to practice your firefighting skills. You get to practice some basic first aid.
I like the way you say that. You get to do it. What if they mess up? Don't do.
Well,
They
then
go
they
back
lose
through and do
points.
again. They lose points.
If
You
they
have to have a
lose-
certain amount of points to actually graduate.
And it's as a group, so
Oh, really?
right, it's not an individual test. So if the group fails, then unfortunately it becomes tough because you got to rest up a little bit and you get to try again the next night.
The next night. They don't give you a lot of time. Oh, wow. They tell you what you failed on, though, if you
Yes,
did.
absolutely. They give you an idea of why you failed, so you have the opportunity to work, to learn from your mistakes. 'Cause that's really what the Navy's about, is helping you learn, helping you to advance yourself.
That makes sense. That's good. That's good. And become a team
Exactly.
as opposed to an individual.
As long as your group works together as a team, you guys will pass battle stations with flying colors, because that's what it's all about.
Do they have any written tests they have to pass?
They do. They have a couple of different written tests while you're there. It's all based on information that you're taught while you're there. It's nothing like you're expected to know.
It isn't specific to a rating
No,
then?
absolutely
It would be
not.
just
It's all general Navy knowledge.
Okay. So then they pass as a group. Then do you have a group graduation?
The graduation comes a couple of days later, yes. Really the best part in basic training is we call it the capping ceremony. After you pass battle stations, you get to trade in your recruit ball cap for a Navy ball cap, and at that point is when you're considered a sailor.
Okay.
Your graduation ceremony happens a couple of days later. All your folks come out, family. You have an opportunity to perform. You do a drill ceremony. You march in. It's really a really great time.
It's very impressive because I've seen a couple of those, and they're very impressive of the new guys and how well they do and how they do work together.
What's
So-
actually really cool now, because sometimes folks can't fly into Great Lakes from all across the country. They actually stream all the graduation ceremonies online.
Oh, now that is really cool. Technology's gotten there.
If you just if you have a sailor who's graduating and you can't make it out there, you just go to bootcamp.navy.mil and you can look at it right there, watch the ceremonies on Friday mornings.
That's awesome. That is really, really neat. I like that. And so you've got these guys there graduating. Then do they get some time off?
Unfortunately, no.
Okay.
We're not like the Army where our boot camp basically isn't quite as arduous, so
Okay.
you don't need that little break.
So you go right away to a school or something?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
You go directly to whatever your A school is going to be. After your A school, that's when you're going to get your first chance to come home after you've joined the
I
military.
get it. Okay, well, we're just about out of time. Is there anything that you want to tell people, what you might look for, or what they could come see you, or where you're located, something like that?
Well, I'm located on China Lake Boulevard, in the shopping center next to the Big Lots. You see Armed Forces Career Center over top. Come on in. We got two separate doors. One says Army, one says Navy.
He's on the right side in the Navy. Yeah.
I think it'd be better if you come in and talk to me, but the Army are great guys. They'll definitely help you out too.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate this, and if you all need to talk to him, he's there. Stop in and see him, and think about a Navy career, because we know what it's like out here and how many people have gone into the Navy and stayed for a lifetime. So thank you for coming. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're
and
welcome.
good luck on your move.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure talking.
And we will see you next week.
Take me out to the ball game.